Welcome to Soft Cock Appreciation Week 2024. I invite you to get comfortable as you join us for what I like to call cockversations, discussions, or grown folk putting their heads together and sharing ideas in authentic and real ways. Now be aware we don't hold back in our language, and what follows is not for overly sensitive or easily kerfuffled ears. And before we dive in, remember, what is shared here is not meant to be, nor is it a replacement for medical advice. Whenever you notice changes in your body or that of a loved one, especially in how the penis is functioning, please seek out medical consultation. What the penis is saying could literally save a life. Thank you for supporting us. If you take away something useful from this, please let us know, write a review, spread the word, and keep coming back for more. Are you ready? Let's do it. Hello, everybody. I'm Erica Leroye. Welcome to Soft Cock Appreciation Week 2024. I am so excited because we have a returning guest today, one of my favorite people on the planet, Lee Jagger. Now, Now, Lee and I met last year. I always like, Lee, I've been telling people how I know the people who have come on, right? Because, we all have our life journey and who we collect along the way. And Lee and I met last year at the end of Soft Cock Appreciation Week during the panel, which you can watch or listen to on our website and on the podcast is the mixer. And so I had listened to Lee's episode and was like, oh my gosh, this woman is a woman of my heart. Then we met on the panel. Then we connected afterwards. I came on to your women's group. You invited me to share with the women in your life, and we'll talk more about these women in your life, but you invited me to share with the women who do the Rock the Bedroom program some thoughts about adding anal touch and anal massage into the work that you do teaching sensual massage to women. And then I came on as a guest to your podcast. So Lee has a podcast that's the Rock the Bedroom podcast, which you can listen to on all of the platforms, right?
Yes.
Yes.
I'm everywhere.
Lee is everywhere. And on that podcast, I shared quite a bit of thoughts. We talked about masturbation, one of my favorite topics. And then as we were planning for this year's Soft Cock Appreciation Week, Lee and I are in the West Coast Intimacy Pros group together. And I put out hey, you want to come back?
How could I resist?
And how could she resist? Exactly. So Lee and I are going to talk today about hand stuff.
Hand stuff.
Hand stuff and more. And more. But you are looking or listening to two people who have really walked a journey, and you in learning how to use our hands in our work with men and in teaching partners and people with penises, people without penises who engage with penises, how to feel more confident about using their hands, how to enjoy being a giver, how to help people move into the space of receiving, and so much more. So, Lee, will you say a little bit about Rock the Bedroom? I want to put that up front. We'll say it again at the end, but talk a little bit about Rock the Bedroom and what it is that you are bringing to the world.
Thank you, Erica. First off, I got to say, I was just so excited when you asked me to be a guest here because this is such an important conversation to have. And I just love speaking with you about this because you're so knowledgeable and we just riff off of each other very, very easily. So the Rock the Bedroom, I have programs that I offer women. Women who love to touch men's bodies. And I have a lot of women who have partners with erection issues. I have a lot of women who have some type of difficulty with intercourse, whether it's boring, she needs to spice it up,
Right.
or whether they just can't have intercourse because he's got erection issues, or maybe she's got dryness or what have you. Like, that's the biggest thing. Like, intimacy is usually handed off to intercourse. Like, if there's no intercourse, then their intimacy levels go down. So my programs all help with that. And the ladies that you were referring to, who's the group that you came to speak to, and I got such great feedback about, was my membership ladies. We meet every week on a coaching call, and they get their questions answered, and there's online training to help them know how to touch a man's privates with confidence. I mean, we've all probably touched penis, scrotum, different private areas, but I've found that a lot of women don't really feel confident touching, like letting our vagina and our labia touch the penis, but to actually have our hands touch that part of a man's body, there's a lot of mystery there still for a lot of women. So I help make that a whole lot easier. And discovering how to talk to your guy in the bedroom and have the important intimacy conversations to make not just the physical act better, but to make your whole relationship better. And when you could talk about this stuff in the bedroom, man, you could talk about anything.
That is
So
so true.
yeah, I have a
That is so
huge
true.
emphasis on communication in my programs. So
Wonderful.
yeah, that's
Wonderful.
what we
Good.
do.
Well, we'll talk more about that too. There's something you just said that I want to highlight it, because one of the things that I hear a lot from men is, I don't believe you, right? I get a lot of this. I don't believe you when you say that women don't need penetration, right? Or I get that a lot. Or I don't believe you when you say, that the majority of women who orgasm, those who do orgasm, the majority of women orgasm from clitoral stimulation and not from cervical or internal stimulation. I am lucky. I'm one of those who can, but it's not the larger percentage. And as you were talking, one of the things I was thinking about that I just want to say is, you know, there are a lot of women who have vulvodynia, dryness, other types of vaginal concerns. What's the one I'm thinking of? The lichen sclerosis,
Yes.
where penetration is painful. Penetration, if they haven't done this work that you are talking about, that you offer to the world around all of the other things that are on the buffet and all of the other ways that intimacy can be happening, then it's very easy for the woman to be the one to pull away. So sometimes what happens, right, is that the penis isn't showing up and the male partner might pull away. But also, there are times where a man might not understand what's really happening. Like I said, that I get a lot of men who are like, I didn't know that it could be uncomfortable. Right.
Yeah.
So to be able to offer to women, not only because there may be something going on with their man, but also I want to encourage women who maybe are hesitant about sexuality because of pain and discomfort that they have, to consider also taking your course and connecting with you, because the more that we expand all of the possibilities of what sex is, then it's really just about pleasure.
Right. Right. It's not about anything other than that. I mean, we get caught up in, oh, well, maybe I should get that Kama Sutra book because there's other sex positions we could try. Like, they're trying to spice things up. They're trying different alternatives. They're just trying different things. But really, it all comes down to pleasure. So you can be trying all these different things, but if you're not actually enjoying the act of connecting sexually with your partner,
Yeah.
then you're putting a Band-Aid on a gushing wound. Like, you're not
Mm,
actually fixing anything.
right.
So
And you
I
can
agree.
feel the energy, right? I mean,
Yeah.
if the energy in the space is
Mhm.
one of hesitation or one of appeasement, I'm just doing this because it's like my duty. I hear that a lot from men. Like, one of the reasons that they enjoy hanging out with me is because I'm enthusiastic.
Right.
I love to give. I love to touch. I love to explore. I have curiosity, and
Mhm.
that's palpable.
Oh, yeah. The guy can totally pick that up a mile away.
Yeah.
Whether you're enthusiastic or whether you're a little distant or hesitant or whatever, they can pick all of that up. They might not even consciously be aware that they're picking it up, but it registers
Hmm.
100%.
Yeah.
And I want to backtrack just a little bit on what you started out with was men saying, I don't believe you that
Mm.
intercourse is not the end all be all for women, because intercourse is like, whoo, really high there for men.
Hmm.
So of course they can't understand that. Right. Um, but also, women can't believe me when I say the words, you know what? You could use your hands to stimulate your guy's privates. And I say privates, not just
Hmm.
penis, because there's a lot of juicy parts down there
Yeah.
that don't include the penis. So his privates.
Hmm.
It, women don't believe me that when I say that when you use your hands to stimulate, that he's gonna like it as much as intercourse.
Hmm.
They don't ever believe me on, like, there's
Hmm.
enough women are open to try, but they always come back and say, "I didn't actually believe this was gonna work. I didn't think that he would be like, whoa, yeah, let's do that.
Right.
Instead of penetration, let's do that. Whatever you did to me last night, oh my God, let's do more of that."
Mm.
Or the other thing that happens is, if they can have penetration, if that's not an issue, then the stuff that you can do with your hands just ends up being foreplay napalm to,
Mhm.
really zhuzh things up,
Yep.
so that you're adding a whole level, whole dimension of um, foreplay and pleasure and sensation and connection that intercourse alone does not provide.
Right.
So,
Right.
so yeah, I just love that whole, I don't believe you.
I don't believe right.
Challenge
Well,
accepted.
so let me riff on that, what you just said, because I agree 100% about, that the more confident we are, the more, and we're going to talk more about this, the more we work on, what it is that we're giving with our hands, right? That,
Uh-huh.
that the more that we feel our hands at, I like to tell my clients, imagine that your hands are covered in like the sensors of octopus tentacles, right? And that,
Yeah.
that all of these nerve endings, right? When all these nerve endings are alive and engaged, then when they touch the other nerve endings on the skin, whether that be, the shoulder, the neck, or the genitals,
Mhm.
that there's, there's a current, there's energy that moves back and forth, and you can see that in the penis, like the undulation that happens even sometimes before you touch, right? Like your
Oh, yeah.
hand can be coming down, and as it nears the softer undulating penis will kind of do a little dance of like something,
Oh, yeah.
you can feel it. But what I was going to say is, you were talking about hands and foreplay, and one of the things that I've also noticed in connection to our soft cock appreciation theme is that sometimes what I see is that it's like hand stuff is foreplay or mouth stuff is foreplay.
Mhm.
And then we start doing intercourse. And there's such a fear that if we change what we're doing in any way, if we change the position, if we change the rhythm, if I have
Mhm.
to get up and pee, when I have to put on a condom, or if the condom slips off, or all of these different things, that the erection might wane.
Mhm. Yeah.
And so then there's all this like, I'm just going to push through, even though my
Right.
mind might no longer be present. right?
Right.
Because, and I'm just going to push through for fear of losing the erection. And one of the things that I think is so important is bring the hand stuff back. Right? Like
Yeah.
like one of the things I love is that moment of that. It's very rare that I've seen a penis not lose some momentum when it's time to put a condom on. And there
Sure.
can
Oh, yeah.
be, right? And there can be a lot of frustration around that.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like,
Yeah.
oh, and it's like the penis is sort of like dangly and you're trying to get it in. And it's like,
Right. The performance anxiety just gets more and more and more for the
right,
guy, and she can feel it.
exactly.
And yeah.
And
Yeah.
it can be a feeling of disconnect, right? As opposed to having to be the one to like, let's work together to put this condom on. And
Mm.
oh, you're kind of soft. So now let's bring some hand technique back in. Like, let me come into the perineum. Let me come play with the testicles a little bit. Let me make some eye contact and look up at you and smile as we're doing this. And then,
Mhm.
even as it's rolling on, doing some stroking, doing some technique to bring it
Yeah.
back. Right. And I just think I'm saying that because I think a lot of people have this feeling of, when there's a break in the momentum,
Mhm.
we have to just let things dangle and then expect the body to respond.
Right.
And as experts in handiwork,
Love it.
that I just want to add in to this conversation, bring the hand stuff in whenever, right?
Oh,
We're
yeah.
going to,
There's most women I found, and I've talked with thousands of women, and like I worked on over 2,000 men to create the techniques that I've created. And they usually say that, like, it's a couple things. When we talk about hand stuff, I call it erotic massage,
mm-hmm,
but the hand stuff, we're all thinking plain old up and down, right? Stroke
mm-hmm,
up, stroke down. Faster you go, the more he gets hard or more turned on or whatever. Like, that's it. Just up, down, up, down, up, down. That's
mm-hmm,
all we know.
right.
So that feels limited, and it is. It's totally limited. That's why I teach over 69 different techniques, because that gets
Mm.
really boring real fast. And what I find that is, when we use our hands for that up and down movement, it's to either get him hard
Mm-hmm.
or get him off, give him an
Yeah.
orgasm,
Yeah.
right? So it's a means to an end,
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately.
Yeah.
And while, yes, it is great to use it to get him erect, if he can get erect, sure, absolutely. But when we let our guys off the hook to perform at all, then, which I highly encourage in my
Mhm.
programs, like, just don't make the erection the main event.
Yep.
Make all the touching and the connection and the eye contact you mentioned, make that the main event. Make it so good that the guy's thinking, "Oh yeah, that was better than what we've ever done."
Mm.
And he's
Yeah.
thinking intercourse. So for women to take the hand stuff, I'm air quoting for those who are
Mhm.
just listening, and make it the main event by not making it a means to an end. I'm not just trying to make you hard. I'm trying to
Mhm.
pleasure you. I'm trying to send you to the moon. I'm trying to connect with you. I'm trying to
Yeah.
show you that I'm relishing the feel of your privates in my hands.
Yes.
Like, it's not fast and furious. It's not urgent. It's slow and methodical and meandering.
Mm.
And like this free technique that I give away at rockthebedroom.com, anybody can go, it's free. Just go check it out. You don't even touch the penis. Like, when you were talking about
Mhm.
undulating, it's like his penis is like anticipating your touch. That's what powdered sugar is, this free technique. And no, you don't use powdered sugar. It's just what it's called.
Mhm.
But yeah, like, you do it all over his body, so that when you're getting close to the genital area, he is so turned on, and you haven't even
Mhm.
touched his privates yet. Like, we it behooves everybody, the woman and the man, or whoever the people are engaging, to take their time getting to those private areas, like love on his whole body, whether his penis is hard or soft. And I can't tell you, Erica, how many times I've had a guy on my table, on my massage table when I did it for work, where he would say, you know what, like you can skip the happy ending stuff, or I'm just not going to have an orgasm, or, I can't get it up anymore, or whatever. Like all the I'm broken in some way is what he was alluding to. So don't even try. And through these teasing, yummy, just hand techniques, not even mouth, you can get a guy so turned on that even if he's not erect, he will have an orgasm.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, and that brings up a great point, something that I always like to highlight, which is so many people, because we have terrible sex education,
Yes,
and just basic anatomy, do not understand that the male sexual experience, we're looking at 3 different primary systems, right? That there's the orgasm system, which is the nervous system, which is a huge piece of what happens when we're touching, right? Because we're stimulating the neurons, the nerve endings, and then those nerve endings send signals through the body to the brain, and that creates that like kind of sensation.
Yeah.
Right. Then there's the ejaculatory fluid system, which has its own path, its own canal, right? So you have the nervous system, which is a lot of the skin. Then you have the ejaculatory system, which is that feeling of the ejaculate for those who still do ejaculate. And for those who maybe have had prostate cancer or other reasons that don't ejaculate, that's a different sensation path.
Yeah.
And then there's the blood flow. And here I'm making my like cavernosa, right? Like I always sort of like, there's 3 tubes, right? And they fill up and they engorge, and that's the hardness. And because I think so many men and women too, who engage with penises, there's a sense, or there's a belief that all of that is actually one thing. Right? That the ejaculation, the orgasm, and the hardness all are one, especially the orgasm and the ejaculation. And one of the things that I loved learning and seeing by doing, I don't think I clocked 2000. I probably clocked 2000 hours, but I don't think I clocked 2000 individuals. I bow down to you. Whenever you say that, I'm like, that's a lot of men.
Yeah.
But coming, and this is something I want to lead us to, but coming into just hanging out with men's bodies and learning for myself as a naive penis person, and then learning and becoming an expert to be able to see like, oh, right, here's a man with diabetes and he's not getting hard, but man, is he having an incredible orgasm, or here's a man who's had prostate cancer. He's not getting hard. But man, what an orgasm, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's so interesting to me how just societally, culturally, because we just don't learn this, people have this idea, if I'm soft, then I'm not going to come. Right?
Exactly. Yeah.
And again, and I'm putting come in air quotes.
Right. And also, like the psychological effects of that. Like he's thinking he's not lovable because he can't perform sexually. He's not desirable. He's not good enough in some way. He'll eventually get cheated on because he can't satisfy her the way that he used to. And inevitably he'll be alone. Like that's a heavy load for a man to take on.
It is. Well, and that brings me to one of the questions that I wanted to bring up with you, because when I went back and I listened to the episode you did with Michelle last year, and I really recommend that people listen to that because it's just so rich.
Oh, it was so good.
It was so rich.
Yeah.
And one of the things that comes up for me when I listen to you say that you have had the experience of working with over 2,000 men is, that to me, what I hear isn't like, oh, I'm, working 2,000 penises. I mean, I know that's what, that having that is what created the knowledge base for your
Mm-hmm.
delicious course.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But also what came up for me, and again, this is from my own experience, is that's a lot of hanging out with male vulnerability.
Yes.
That what you bring, and I think I have as well, is part of our expertise is being people who create a space where men can be vulnerable, and
Yeah.
vulnerable in, getting naked with someone who might start out as a stranger, right?
Mm-hmm.
Being willing to even say to themselves, I'm seeking something, and I'm actually going to take the action of this kind of self-care, even if it's somewhat societally taboo,
Right.
right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to take a risk and trust this person. I'm going to get naked with them, even if they're not naked back,
Mm-hmm.
right? Put myself on the table. And what you do and what I do isn't just sort of your traditional like happy ending massage, right? That
Right.
it's very different.
Yeah.
So what have you learned? I mean, I know that there's the technique piece, but what have you learned about men's vulnerability? Are there any generalities that you found? What have you discovered you, and I think I'm thinking of this especially for women or for partners who are listening,
Yeah.
whatever gender they are. What are some of the things that you had to change in yourself over the years of doing that to be able to be someone that people could, because the other thing is if you're not creating a relaxing experience, then you're definitely not going to be
Yeah.
getting the impact of what touch can do, right? If someone is
Mm-hmm.
guarded. So,
Yeah. Well, that is a great question, Erica. I love that. I think that's what separated me from other women in the business. I got involved just to make some money. It like it started out as okay. I mean, there's a whole story behind it, but it started out as I was so broke, and with a son in tow as well. So I needed the money, and I thought, oh, okay, happy ending massages, they make great money. Oh, okay, let's try this out. And what I very quickly realized, very quickly, like within the first month of doing it, and I did that for years and years. Was I realized that men, like you're right, it's so vulnerable. Like their sexuality is so a part of them. It's not it's not something just that they do, it's who they are. And so and a lot of my clients who came to me had erection issues, and I could tell were very shamed
mm,
about that. Um, or even if they didn't have erection issues, they weren't getting the attention at home that they needed. And I didn't say wanted there purposely, because for a lot of men, sexual contact is like water, like they
mm,
need it. I use this quote all the time because I just love it. Mother Teresa said this. She said, the most terrible poverty is loneliness
yeah.
and the feeling of being unwanted. And let me tell you, all the ladies
Mhm,
who are listening to this, like men just want you to touch it like you like it.
mhm,
And if
yeah,
if you're looking at a flaccid penis and you're like, what do I do with this? I don't know what to do. I don't know how to touch this. I guess we're not having sex tonight. That is like a rejection that he feels in his bones. Like, 'cause
mhm,
you're not rejecting his penis. He feels like you're rejecting him. And it's
yeah,
not even always a conscious thought, but like this one guy I remember very clearly, he said, "Yeah, I'm engaged to be married." And he was like holding back tears on my table because he said, "I came to you today because I was so afraid that when I marry this woman who I love desperately, when I marry her, I was afraid that my penis would never get touched again
Mm.
because they had sex, but she never touched it. She
Yeah.
never seemed like she was into touching it. Like he always got this ew vibe from her. And so, and like he was almost in tears admitting that to me.
Yeah.
So you're right. There's so much vulnerability on the table when a man is willing to open up, and he's very rarely willing to open up to his partner because he's not feeling safe to sometimes.
Yeah.
She's not opening up things to feel safe for him, only not maliciously, but only because she doesn't know that she's making it unsafe for him.
Right.
To admit, hey, like I feel performance anxiety all the time, even though I can get it up. Like I feel like, oh, am I doing a good job? Is she enjoying it? Oh, I'm a little bit softer tonight. Oh no, like they've got a lot going on in their brain, and there's a lot of societal pressure that they grow up with to perform like a man. And especially if he has any erection issues, oh my gosh, my heart just goes out to those men. So you're right. All those years I did those happy ending massages, it wasn't about jerking them off. And I would always tell the guys too in the very beginning, like, you may or may not have an orgasm. And just and to let them know that's perfectly okay. But I'm going to make you feel like you are zipping around the rings of Saturn.
Yeah.
Whether with or without the orgasm, you're going to feel amazing. And I would just to let him off the hook to perform in any way. Because often a guy would say, "Oh, I'm really sorry it's taken so long," or if they have an orgasm too quickly, they're like, "Oh, sorry, I wanted to hold out longer," and it didn't matter to me. And I just by letting them off the hook to perform in any way, just made them relax into the sensation. And more often than not, or almost every single time, a man who was having difficulty getting an erection, and when I let him off the hook and just let him know, hey, just to let you know, either you may not have the orgasm or you might come very, very quickly. Like either way, it's okay. There's no wrong way to experience this. Then if they were having an erection issues, no longer having an erection issues. If they weren't able to have an orgasm typically, and I let them off the hook, they had an orgasm every single time. So it's a matter of making it safe to feel however you feel, and for women to learn how to touch that organ in a way that expresses your love and appreciation and attentiveness towards him, not to just touch it to get something done.
Right.
They could feel that. So they want you to touch it like you like it.
Like you like it. Yeah. That's so beautiful. It's just really, my whole body is like, yes, 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 yes. So let me add a couple things to what you just said. So one of them is, I think this is an interesting piece, right? Because like with soft cock appreciation week, what we're saying is it's totally fine if you show up soft. You don't need to get hard. You don't need to get an erection. There's so much joy. There's so much pleasure that can happen without.
Yeah.
And the modern medical world focuses on pills, pumps, and injections as the way. Recently, Lee, I went to the Prostate Cancer Research Institute's prostate cancer conference a few weeks ago. And in the breakout rooms with the urologists that were doing sexual function and urinary function, I raised my hand and said, hey, how come you guys aren't talking about manual therapy? Right? It's very, very rare. Yeah. We know that with prostate cancer, prehab before surgery or radiation and rehab post-surgery and radiation are critical for being able to have erectile function in recovery. And yet, what that means is pills, pumps, and injections. There's not much conversation about how to have your partner manually stimulate you, how to masturbate in a way that it's all things being done to the penis.
Which
right?
have side effects.
Which have side effects.
Don't always work.
Right. Yeah. And it's all about, it's all about, let's have this, it's something being done to me, not something that is connective and interactive. So with that, I want to highlight for people too, that oxytocin, which is the trust, love, bond hormone, right? Oxytocin starts to release with warm voice, warm eye contact, light, soothing touch, rocking, cooing, basically all the things that you would do to soothe a fussy baby, right? Gets the oxytocin flowing. And one of the things that I learned, now this was a study that was an animal study because we don't do a lot of studies on human penises, but in animals, the fascia that goes around the inside, so you have the corpus cavernosa and the spongiosa. So you have these three tubes, and around those tubes is something called the tunica. There's the buccal fascia and there's the tunica. And in the tunica, at least in pigs, so I'm going to extrapolate that that's also humans because pigs kind of lead the way in medical research for us, that there are so many oxytocin receptors in that tissue. So when we're approaching the body, and that goes back to what we were saying in the beginning, when we're approaching with an energy that isn't, I don't know what I'm doing, or this isn't really what I want to be doing, or let me just give you a couple quick strokes and that's all we're going to do. But when we approach with love, when we approach with, I'm here to help soothe you, down regulate you, a down regulated penis is more likely to be erect. Right. And as that energy is flowing and connecting, then I have had men who have only been able to have erections with Trimix, with the injection. They've brought the injectable with them to a session and never had to use it.
Right.
And it's not that I have some kind of, I do have magic hands.
You do.
I do have magic hands, but it's not that. It's that the approach is, there's an approach. I like to undress a man. Right. That's one of my biggest things is I love to be the one who takes their pants down, whether they're sitting or standing and laying. And I swear, Lee, every single time I have my first glance at a penis and I like it not to meet me full on erect. I like it to meet me in a relaxed state. And I swear, I just always have this like, how are you?
Right.
Welcome. Like there's sort of this thing of like, we've been talking. There's been a lot of like this head and my head. We're kind of creating the container. But then that moment of exposure to be able to say, ooh, hi, welcome.
Right.
You are welcome here. Right. And then with my hands to be able to connect in that way, that not a handshake, right, or a pat, but like a hi, like that there's an intention with the hand in how we touch.
Right. That caressing, that supporting, that, it's a different level of care. It's a different level of care. It's not so bow chicka wow wow, although it leads to that sometimes. But when you get, when men aren't touched this way, men are not touched that way. And they're not even, their penises aren't even seen that way. There are so few women who have ever said those words that you just expressed, like, hi there, like, welcome to the party. Good to see you again. Like that whole eagerness to interact with those private parts is not typically there for women. Like you look at any movie just depicting a woman looking at a man's penis or talking about a man's penis, and quite often it's described as, oh, what do you do with it? Or it's this it's got a negative connotation to it. And so we're inundated with a penis is this foreign object, and women
Yes.
don't know how to relate to it. And let me tell you, ladies listening to this is a skill that is developed. Like this one woman in my membership, Heather, in about 20 years, no, maybe it was 30 years of marriage, long time. Anyway, they ended up going to couples counseling, and it came out in counseling that he felt very neglected because they had sex, but she never touched it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so she said, well, I just don't know what to do with it. And I feel awkward with it. And like it's just this foreign thing. And she wasn't willing. There was too much anxiety around it because she didn't want to, nobody wants to look dumb in the bedroom. And it's supposed to feel natural and it's supposed to just unfold and it's supposed to be connecting and wonderful. So this whole idea of, okay, I'm going to go to school and I'm going to investigate. I'm going to feel around. I'm going to touch this. I'm going to experiment here. That doesn't occur to a lot of women. And also they don't know how to experiment. That's where I come in.
Yes.
And so when this woman, Heather, went through a little, even just the first little bit of my program, just a couple little techniques and a couple words of encouragement, blah, blah. And she's like, oh my God, I actually like touching it. Like I'm eager to hold, and I love his soft penis. Like I love holding it. I love just caressing and just feeling it and feeling it grow in my hands. And like, it's so connecting. And this is a woman who had never touched her husband in decades. And so ladies, this is a skill that can be learned. This isn't just, oh, that's just not me. I don't like a penis. That it's only because you just don't know how.
Yes.
Then there's so much more available in a relationship when, like, can you imagine you're laying on your back in bed and your guy is down there about to give you oral pleasure. And if he were to go, maybe not.
Right.
He's got this kind of like unsure look on his face and almost a little bit like ew look on his face. Like he's not really into it. He knows you want him to do this, but he's like, do I have to kind of vibe?
Right.
That would feel horrible to us. And that would not be connecting. That would not be an enjoyable experience. So when you turn the tables, yeah, guys, they act like all they need is just to stick it in, but they really, really need more than that.
They do. They do.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think one of the things, again, going to like, oh, I don't believe you, right? I mean, part of what we have expertise at is the proof is in the pudding. Right? Because we just make them, because that's what we do. We turn them into mush.
Yes.
Right? I mean, and that's,
Boo.
and that's what we want. And the thing that I hear the most after I do a session is, I've never felt this relaxed. This is the most relaxed I've felt in my life. And I think that's a combination of not having to be the giver, right? My container is when I work as a sexological, and when I do sexological body work, right? The boundary is touch goes just from me to you. Right. Then I have in my creative body release sessions, I do a lot of dance and movement up front so that there's clothed mutual touch so that the body is getting turned on. And then when we move over to the table, then the touch is still me to you. And it's so interesting because I can always see this moment where the mind comes on and thinks, I'm supposed to touch you now. Right? That like, that if that if I'm not reciprocating, because the mind also is like, well, I'm used to like, but it actually does more for me if I'm also touching you. Right. Or it does. And so occasionally I'll be like, if you really need to ground yourself, you can put your hand on my thigh while I'm doing this or something, but don't be stroking me. Don't be doing that. And it's not because it's something about you. It's because anything that you start to do is going to take some energy away from your brain, just right. If like, it's like drumming, right? If I'm laying there and then my hand starts to touch someone else, then that means that part of my brain is making my hand move and touching and feeling those signals and doing that. And that's lovely for partnered sex.
Yeah.
But that's not what we're talking about. There's something very different that happens when you really allow yourself as either partner to be in full receiving. It's
Yes.
very foreign for a lot of people. It starts out uncomfortable because it's not the way sex is supposed to happen, right?
Right.
But
And you feel
it's
selfish,
and you
you're
can, yeah,
like, "Oh,
right?
I wanna make her feel good, or I wanna make
Mhm.
him feel good." But when you can just receive,
Mm.
and there, that to me too, it making that okay. Whereas like this container of, I'm going to pleasure you, and I don't even want you to touch me at all. Like I want
Yeah.
your hands behind your head, so that you just receive. So because if you're touching
Mhm.
me, you're now thinking about the thing you're touching.
Yes,
You're not
exactly.
as much thinking about the thing that you're feeling from my fingertips. You're just
Mhm.
feeling your fingertips.
Right.
And I mean, there's a mesh there, but some of that focus is diverted. And so to really encourage and make it okay for one person to 100% receive at a time,
Mhm.
it opens up this door to, oh, I'm not being selfish when I am just when it's all about me. That's not a
Yes.
selfish, that's a self-care. And it opens up the door to asking for what you want. Like
Yeah.
like, oh, so if that's okay, then how about, could you do this as well?
Mhm.
Like, or could you move a little bit to the left, or go a little bit faster or slower, or whatever? Like it kind of cracks the door to open to a little bit more communication in asking for what you want in the bedroom, when pleasure isn't seen as selfish.
Mhm.
Like, it's
Yeah.
not a give and take thing, it's a give and a give and a give and a give, and
The
just receive, and
Yeah.
yeah.
The image that I have always thought of around this that I'll share with you is, and this came up for me, people have probably heard me say this many times now, but a lot of, the way I came into this work was because I had a partner who had erectile issues. And so we went on this journey together where originally he was avoiding penetration. And then when I said, "What's going on?" and he shared with me what was going on, I said, "Well, what if we just," and maybe this comes from my years of massage training and my years as a kindergarten teacher where I'm very focused, like I'm very aware of time. I'm like,
Mhm.
"Hey, we have a play date, right? We've created a play date. We have an hour today. We have 4 hours today. We have a weekend. We have 5 minutes. So how do we fill the time with pleasure?"
Mm.
Right? That we're not on a, we're doing this to get to something specific, meaning the end orgasm, but that, how much pleasure can we create? And so that was really what led me to learn, oh, when you're soft, what are the other things we can do? When you're hard, then you can put it in, or you can put it in my mouth, or you can put it in my hand, or whatever. But like really understanding this choreography,
Mhm.
this ebb and flow. But the
Yeah.
image that has always worked for me around that give and take, the giving and receiving, not even the give and take, but the giving and receiving,
Mhm.
is like, I think about being kids on a trampoline together, right? How you begin and maybe you're both bouncing together, right? And maybe you're holding hands and you're bouncing together, and we're both going down and we're both going up. We're both going down and we're both going up. We're in sync together. And then you let go, and maybe one is like really trying to bounce in a way down so that you go up,
Right.
right? And then you're down and they go up, right? And that is an okay part of intimacy too, that there's the part where we're in it together, and then
Mhm.
there's the part where what I'm doing is to help you get high,
Right. I love that
right?
visual. That's good. Yeah.
Right? And then as you come down, sometimes it's you come down and then it's my turn to go high.
Mhm.
And other times it just might be, I'm just going to keep bouncing in a way that keeps getting you higher. Can you go higher? Can you get
Mhm.
higher? Oh my gosh, look how high you are. That
Right.
I'm helping you. I'm holding
Yeah.
something in a way that helps you be totally in your space. And it's not that I'm disconnected. It's that it's like I'm the ground that allows you to float, right? Or like a
Yeah.
kite. I'm the one holding the kite string so that you can be the one that's, losing a little bit of the grounded, because so many men, especially, like they're just so tight in their bodies. And as we infuse them with erotic energy, you just see how, oh my gosh, what an invitation to,
Oh,
right?
yes. That was a
Yeah.
good visual. Your face totally caught it. For you listeners who aren't seeing this with visually, you just missed something. It was so good.
Go over to
Like,
the YouTube and
go
see
to
it.
yeah, go to YouTube. You got to catch that visual. Yeah, it's like you can actually see the moment when a guy, like I highly encourage women to tell the guy, you can't touch me because his
Mhm.
hands will want to wander. And so like just put your hands behind your head and he's a little bit tight at first. He's kind of like, "Oh, okay, what's about to happen?" And I'm not really sure what's going on here and I do want to touch her. So, why can't I? And then when like I'll encourage them to say something like, "So my hands are going to be the only hands doing the touching right now for
Mm,
the next 5 minutes or whatever. Like for right now, my hands are the only hands doing the touching. Your hands are keeping to themselves.
mm,
And I'm going to, energetically speaking, tie your wrists to my bedposts so
mm.
that I can have my way with you."
Ooh,
So it kind of lets
that
them on
just
the
got
hook.
my parts a little juicy.
Right? Yeah, like you're reframing it, right? So
Yeah,
that it's not this thing he can't do. It's this, "Ooh, I don't need to. I'm going to
right.
be taken to the moon without even trying." And then when he's able to let her start doing whatever it is that she's going to do with just her hands and other things if she wants to do them as well, but just give,
Mhm,
give to him without any expectation of receiving and not even letting him receive. When he finally just like realizes, "Ooh, this is actually really juicy." And you can just see him literally melt into the pillow. Like you could
mhm,
feel the tension under your hands just melt away and just soften. It's like he oozes just a little bit. Like his whole body just sinks.
mm.
And that is a beautiful thing. Like
Yeah,
to what you said
yeah,
earlier, I've never felt so relaxed.
so
And you can
relaxed.
be turned on and relaxed at the same time.
Right.
That's the best
Mm,
combination,
mm.
actually.
So much, so much.
Yeah.
All right, let me ask you this.
Uh-huh.
Do you have, from your own lived experience, as well as, now in the teaching, do
Mhm.
you have some tips for people who, like, how do you get people to have a new relationship with their own hands as the giver? Like, is there something that you help people do? How do you help people if I'm like, okay, I'm listening to these women, I want to touch, I want to see what I can do, but like I don't know how to I don't know how to, I mean, there's the technique, but there's also h- first you kind of have to make a new relationship yourself with touch, with
Yeah,
being the toucher. So how do you help people do that?
right, because this is a foreign thing. Like, you get into your sex routine with your longtime partner, or, you're dating and you're with someone new and you make out, and if you're gonna get intimate, then you end up opening your legs and having intercourse, and like that's like you have your go-to touching thing.
Mhm,
You reach around, you grab his butt or whatever, like you hold his head when you're kissing him or whatever you do with your hands normally. That's just your go-to. You don't even think about it. So it is foreign to for
mhm,
me to ask somebody to be very intentional with their touch. most people are not intentional, like consciously aware of what they're doing. And I hope I'm answering your question properly when I say to have that new relationship with your hands is just knowing that by being intentional with your touch, and we're not talking about rocket science here, like it's easy touches, it's very simple movements of your fingers, of your palms, of whatever, like very, very simple. But just knowing that when you are intentional with whatever you're doing, these simple little touches,
Mm-hmm.
you become like you, the giver of the touch, actually get way more out of it, believe it or not, than
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
receiver. Like you become more confident.
Mm-hmm.
You become more caring. You become more sure-footed in the bedroom. You become more verbal.
Yeah.
Like a lot of women, they're like, I don't even know how to start. Like, I don't know how to ask my guy to do this with me. So
Mm-hmm.
I give them the words to say, to let him off the hook, to initiate, to all the words that we're not used to actually verbalizing. I find that that's a big part of the equation. Like she
Mm-hmm.
just doesn't even know how to start this thing. Like, how do I bring it up? Um,
Yeah.
so having the words, having the understanding that just being intentional with your touch is going to empower you on a whole different level that you've never even experienced,
Mm.
and to not wait to feel ready to do it.
Yeah.
Because it's new, it's hard to have a new relationship with touching until you just touch, like, and discover, oh, I actually like it when I touch him this way. And when I do this, which I think would do nothing for him, like look at his body respond to it.
Mm.
So you
Yeah.
just don't know that until you get into it. Like learning from a textbook how to swim.
Yeah.
You can learn all this stuff. You can learn all the strokes and
Yeah.
how to hold your breath and all the things, but until you actually get in the water, you can't really embody what it's like to swim. And
Mm.
that's why I kind of like I throw in some communication stuff, but I jump right into the touch right away, because it's through the touch that um that's where you're going to learn the most about your
Mm-hmm.
partner, about yourself, about um, when to say the words that I give you to say. It all comes down to just starting from a very mechanical place, like learning how to dance.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, put your left foot there and put your right foot there, and it feels very mechanical to start, and not so flowy and not so natural. No, because it's a new skill and it never will feel natural until you just do it,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe do it a couple times and get the incredible positive response back to encourage you to do it more.
Yes.
um when you see that this very, very simple touch has such a huge impact on him, it's going to make you want to do it again. And it's through the doing of it and realizing in the background, oh yeah, I am feeling more confident. Oh yeah, I am feeling more relaxed in the bedroom. Oh
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I do actually have some tools in my tool belt. Instead of just being the passive receiver of the sexual interaction, I actually can jump in the driver's seat and take this guy for a spin. That
Yeah.
knowing that in the back of your head makes it a little bit easier to dive into this. So it's an experiential kind of getting to um, have a different relationship with touch.
Yeah.
That's
I
a
love that.
very long answer to your
No, no, no.
question.
That's great. No, that's super great. So I'm going to tag. We'll play a little tag team here. So I'll tag
Okay.
team on a couple things that you said. So one is I just read today a little quote from a book called The Penis Book, um, and I can't remember the exact quote, but it was basically saying that dopamine
Mhm.
is part of the refractory period. Right. So for those who, are like, what are you talking about, Erica? The refractory period. So the refractory period is The orgasm, well, the ejaculation happens, right? The ejaculation happens. So like if there's rapid ejaculation, the ejaculation happens. And then what we're looking at, what the refractory period is, how long does it take for the body to be able to create another erection or build up another volume of ejaculate?
Right.
Okay. So one of the things for me, Lee, that comes up all the time when I work with men who are coming to talk to me or work with me because they have quote unquote rapid ejaculation is I'm like, the issue isn't rapid ejaculation. The issue is, what are you doing during the refractory period? Is it you come quickly, and then because you've come, your mind says that's the end? And so you clean up, pack up your clothes and kind of like go on to the next thing. Let's go watch TV. Or are you hanging out still together? And so much of what I've seen in the work that I do with rapid ejaculation is go ahead and have that. And then let's do more touch. Now let's do the full body, because also for a lot of people with a penis, getting any kind, like I imagine it like a dog that's been crate trained all day, and then you open up if it's a puppy and you open up the crate because you're home, and the first thing it does is it pisses on the floor. Right. And like part of what you're training it to do is eventually wait until you get in and you can take it outside. But rapid ejaculation for me is like, oh my God, I'm so excited that this is actually happening. Somebody's touching me. Oh my God. Right.
Totally. Yes.
And and again, like in our love of the penis, like that's totally fine. Like just like I would with a puppy, just like, all right, now let's go for a walk. Let's go for a run. Let's spend more time together. I'm not going to shame you. You peed on the floor and, I'll clean it up. And eventually we'll get to the point where you won't, as long as I'm not like making you afraid of me. Right. So dopamine, so back to the dopamine. So dopamine likes curiosity. It likes novelty. It likes exploration. So I want to highlight, what you said too about intention, because not everybody necessarily even knows what that is that we mean. So I'm going to share something that what that means for me, right? So what that means for me is when I'm doing erotic touch, erotic massage, erotic space, when I'm facilitating that, then I have a running internal dialogue. I don't have to necessarily say it out loud, but I have a running internal dialogue, right? Because we all have a voice inside our head. And if we don't give that voice something to say, it will default to, am I doing this right? What is it? Blah, 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 blah. I don't know. I don't feel confident. So I have to give it a script, just like you give the women who do your program a script of what to say to communicate to their partners. I think it's also, I've had to learn how to write myself a script so that I stay present, right? So that I'm not rubbing someone's penis, but my brain is over in the supermarket walking up and down the aisles, because they feel that. Like that's the beautiful thing to me about a penis, right? Is like when we're doing body work and, I can have like the penis in my hands and I'm rubbing it and I'm touching it and I'm doing all these things. And the moment my thought leaves my hands, the moment that my intention, my energy, my thought, that is, isn't this lovely? I'm here for you. I love you. You're welcome here. Exactly how you are is exactly the way you need to be. There's no pressure. That my intention, that this inner dialogue, I'm happy to watch you grow. I'm happy that you're just relaxing, that I'm having an internal conversation with the body. That keeps me present. Because the moment I step out, I could have a hard, long, whatever phallus in my hand, and I check out mentally, right away it notices.
Isn't that amazing? Yeah.
Right away. It is the best barometer. That's why I love what we do with erotic touch as like movement meditation, as moving meditation for both the give, especially for the giver, right? Because it's about I need to stay present.
Yeah.
And so sometimes if I notice like, oh, there goes my mind, I'm starting to think about something, that's where maybe I'm going to switch and move to like, oh, now I need to bring some intention and attention to, now I'm going to focus on where are all the places on the body that have roundness. Right. So I'll give myself a little quest, that little dopamine for me, that little, like, let me come back. Right. But not let me come back and like, what do I do? But okay, when I'm a little lost in the touch, I'm going to focus, like where are the bony places? Where are the round places? Where are the soft places? Where are the places where there's hair? Where are the places where there isn't hair? But like being able to have some intention, landmarking, and some intention in the touch. And the last thing I'll say about this is when I became a sexological body worker, a year later, so I worked on people for free for the whole first year because I was a licensed massage therapist. And I don't know what this work is, this erotic work, the sexological body work. And so I'm going to do it for free for a year to get confident and competent. I like you use that word a lot. Just doing this and making sure it's even something I feel like I want to do.
Right.
Before I out myself to the massage board. Right? Because it was a little confusing. Right? What am I supposed to do? On the one hand, it says if you do a training that's approved by another state's board of education, we'll accept it. And then the whole last page was, but no masturbation, no sexual touch, no, 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 no. And I was like, well, I have this training that's approved by a state board of education, but it's all these things. So I went down and I outed myself and I was like, what do you want to do with me? And they were very understanding and they actually had me come and do a presentation. But as part of it, they asked me to really think about how I differentiate when am I doing therapeutic massage and when am I doing erotic massage.
Right.
And what I remembered was
the reason why I just chuckled there is because erotic massage is therapy.
Well, yes.
Like it's so healing.
Yeah,
it's so therapeutic. I've had so many men say to me, wow, that was better than like 5 years of therapy.
Absolutely. 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 And that's why like I never do just traditional body work anymore because also, and I'll come back to this other piece, but also, and this is something important for the people who are listening in what we're talking about here is I really believe, I really, 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 really believe now that this type of sex, right, is the only time as humans where we get to be 100% in our bodies, right? One of the reasons that I didn't do massage, traditional body work for a really long time in my life is that I always felt when I was working with men, like it's kind of weird that we can't touch the penis. Like we're touching, it would be like if we didn't touch the shoulder. Like, that we're heightening awareness by not touching it, by being afraid of it. And there was something to me that just always felt like this feels like we're not doing real service. And then when I became a sexological body worker and I could touch the whole body, touch the perineum, touch in the anus, touch the head, touch the ears, touch the knees, but connect the whole self. Oh my God, what a gift. And I think in what we're talking about in giving the gift of touch, of doing a massage, of working with our hands, of exploring with our hands, that's part of what we get to do is we get to help our partner or our friend or whoever it is that we're touching, they've been walking around, that penis is walking around, like I said, the crate trained dog. I mean, that penis is walking around tucked off in an awkward position, not allowed to be present, not allowed to, definitely not allowed to notice the pretty ladies in the office or the nice smelling something in the air, because God forbid the antenna, the sensual antenna goes off.
Right.
And so there's a lot of disconnect, right? That the
Mhm.
body mind is way more separated in men and people with a penis than it is for those of us who don't have that tell,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
And so
Yeah.
to be able to offer with our hands integration, right? And even in my work, which is different, but in my work, I'm really interested in the reflexology of the penis. Like I can see sometimes, like if a man has, like if their neck is askew, it would take me so many sessions. They would have to pay me so much more money to massage their neck back to alignment. But man, the penis will do the same thing. You'll see it.
Right.
The little ridge will be a little bit, I'll look up and I'll be like, oh, right. Like your head is like that and your other head is like that. And if I use my hands and start working the shaft and around that coronal ridge, and I see how it's like this shape is similar to the occiput and
Right.
the
It totally
neck,
is. Yes.
right? And
Yeah.
I start doing things over here and I start doing things over here and I start sending pleasure signals from the bottom up the spine. And all of a sudden you'll see like they'll have a little shudder of pleasure. The
Mm-hmm.
neck adjusts. And
Oh.
the penis gets a little straighter. The spine gets a little straighter. The neck gets a little straighter. And even for me, and I discovered this because I can adjust my neck with my clitoris. I can, there are certain because I get a little neck thing and it'll go a little off. And when I'm a little off, I used to go to the chiropractor a lot, spent tons of money. And
Mm-hmm.
now there are certain spots where that little spot, that nerve ending, I've discovered the nerve ending that goes to the nerve ending that when I feel the like orgasm little release thing, I can adjust my neck through my clitoris.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
So all of that to say, going back to intention and getting more comfortable with our hands, like you start to, that our eyes too, like as we're touching, being able to see, oh, I'm doing this down here, but it's having something shifting in the shoulder, the toes are starting to wiggle, having that ability to move the fascia around in the body because we're offering pleasure as the signaling through the whole body, and that
Right.
it's long and intentional, is beautiful.
Mm.
Yeah. Okay. So let me just say quickly. So what I said when the massage board said, how do you differentiate? Right. So the way I landed on this was when I was in massage school, and this is back in 1988 is when I did my massage training. And we had to do this exercise where we had to sit in front of each other. It was two people. We had to sit in front of each other and it was a laying on of hands.
Mm-hmm.
So one person was the receiver. This is a really good exercise to do at home too. Like this is a good exercise for couples. So one person is the receiver, one person is the giver. The giver has to think a thought that makes them angry, a thought that makes them not present, like I need to go to the supermarket and do this, a thought that is, I'm like here to heal, and a thought that was sexual. And
Mm-hmm.
they mix it up. The receiver doesn't know the order. They just know that there are four intentions in the person's thought. And
Right.
then the person thinks the thought and just does a laying on of hands, just like touches the other person's thigh or arm or shoulder, some face, something with that thought.
Mm-hmm.
And then the person, after they get all four, they say, I think the first one was your angry thought. The second one was your this thought. Da, da, da. And most of the time it was right on.
Wow.
And the moral of that particular exercise for those of us who are training as massage therapists was the only thought you can have is the therapeutic thought.
Right.
Do not have any of these other thoughts. So
Right.
when the massage board said to me, how are you going to just make sure you differentiate when you're doing this and when you're doing this, that was when I realized, oh, that means what it is when I'm doing erotic touch, the sensual thought, the sexual thought, the erotic thought is actually the welcome thought. That I want that energy to be moving out of my hand and onto the person I'm touching.
Right.
Right? That's what we're talking about when we're saying have some intention.
Yes.
Right? Have some intention that's palpable.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's I mean, the intention, if you were to get a little woo woo about it, it changes your physical vibration. Like we everything, like this microphone, my headset, my body, everything is vibrating at a certain frequency. And some things are vibrating at a faster frequency, some at a slower frequency. And that's what differentiates all the different things as what they are, is because of how they vibrate. And so when
You just said
I know,
vibrate. My
right?
whole body
It's
just
yeah. And so you can affect the frequency at which you are physically vibrating, every cell in your body. You can
Yes.
affect that by your mere thought. And it's sort of like a tuning fork. If you were to take two tuning forks and one is both of them are not vibrating at all. And then you tap one of them to get it vibrating and you bring it close. Doesn't even have to touch the second tuning fork, but just close. It will make that second tuning fork vibrate to the same frequency. I mean, we know this. Anyone can test it and it works. And it's so cool when it does. And our bodies are the same way.
Yeah.
So when you are vibrating at a certain intentional frequency, certain thoughts that are coming in, like if you're actually like, ooh, I'm gonna love you up right now. I'm gonna totally take care of you. You know, you're coming from a certain intention.
Yeah.
Then your guy will be affected by it, or your person, whoever. I mean, we're talking to both people. Your partner will be affected, even if they're not conscious of it.
Yeah.
All they know is, oh wow, I just feel like you're hugging me right now, and you're not even touching me. Like I feel nurtured, I cared for, I feel relaxed.
Yes.
And they don't realize it's because your tuning fork made them vibrate to that same frequency.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
that intentional part is so huge, and it's very underrated. But it's very it has a big impact.
Yeah. And the communication piece is so important, because if you are not in that space, don't just push through. It's okay to
Right.
say, well, I know we had this date tonight for me to do some erotic massage and some touch with you, but then I got this call and I'm not really present, or this happened and I'm not I just have it's okay. Then it's okay to make a change, because
Right.
pushing through because in the same way that positivity and love is palpable, we all know how, and I think this is part of the thing when people are living, and we say people are walking on eggshells at home, or they're touch deprived at home, there can be an energy. I think a lot of the men that I've worked with have had experiences where the energy that surrounds them, whether it's from a boss or it's at work or it's at home or it's with caregiving or whatever it is just beating them down.
Yeah.
Right. And that there isn't this, hey, you're good. We're good. So
Yeah.
that feeling of anxiety, frustration, fear, I don't know, is one and that's why I always like to say, just turn it into curiosity. Anxiety, the antidote to anxiety and fear and all of that is, it's the same words. I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing. Can either be, I don't know what I'm doing, right? Or I don't know what I'm doing. Or it can be, I don't know what I'm doing.
Right.
Right? I'm just gonna, I don't know, but I'm here and I'm willing to find out by doing.
Right.
Right. So, and that's
Yeah.
really the beauty of what you offer in your program is, that people are encouraged to, it's okay to be novice, right? It's okay to
Oh, yeah.
explore. And, you provide a beautiful guidance for learning, you know, that beginner's mind, being a beginner, learning competency, learning skills, learning technique, and then,
Mhm.
getting feedback, being able to be part of your membership, all of that is really, it's such a service. So,
Thank you.
I mean, I could talk with you for hours. I feel like, there's so much to learn. Go get Lee's free technique, her sugaring technique, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And so how do people get more of you?
Well, they can get the free thing at rockthebedroom.com. And once you get the free technique, then there is more. Definitely. The membership is, I think it's my it's my biggest, it's my brainchild. Like
Mhm.
I've taught over the years, several years, and thousands of women. I've taught so many programs, but my membership is actually the culmination of all the best stuff that I've ever
Mm.
done. So and it's the cheapest thing that I've got too. So most women are diving into the membership. And if you want to check out the membership, it's rockthebedroom.com/membership.
Okay.
But check out the free thing first, because it's always, sex is still this very taboo subject.
Mhm.
And even if we're wanting to learn more, even if we're eager to change the trajectory of our relationship and maybe spice things up, or maybe take care of our guy in a different way, or maybe feel more empowered in the bedroom than we ever have, whatever the reasoning that we come to uh, this type of work, like my trainings, no matter what the reason, it's still going to be a little bit like, is this going to feel like porn,
Mhm.
or like, what am I into? Like, what Pandora's box am I going to open here? And is it going to feel awkward? Is it going to feel am I going to feel slutty? Is it going to
Mm.
feel raunchy? All the things.
Yeah.
And so I tell people, just get the free thing,
Mhm.
because you're going to
Yeah,
know
you'll get a
right away.
sense. Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's very educational and very professional,
Mhm.
almost clinical. And
Yeah.
yeah, because I'm not in anything skimpy or anything. Like it's just it's very okay.
Mhm.
Step one, step two, step three. Here's
Yeah.
what we do. And not not raunchy at
Yeah.
all.
And I mean, I'm a raunchy girl, so what I like about what you do, a little raunchy, a little slutty, that's okay too. But I think what you're talking about is meeting people at the baseline of where they are, and that you
Yeah.
can always layer. This is what I like about the way that you are approaching teaching this as well, is that it is really competency oriented. And then you
Mhm.
can sprinkle in, what personal, proclivities are. But that,
Oh, for sure.
that it starts with, this is technique, and it's just a technique that it's amazing that we don't teach this more, right? That it's
Yeah.
not part of what we learn.
Yeah, I would consider what I teach in the grand scheme of what, compared to what's taught out there, this is very advanced stuff.
Mhm.
However, it's all beginner stuff. Like in my brain, I'm thinking this is 101. This is what we should
Yeah.
all be learning in school growing up. Like how to touch your partner, how to touch your partner, how to
Mhm.
be a good partner, how to draw out the best in your partner. Like this is basic stuff as far as I'm concerned. And all of my training is geared towards beginners, because I just assume nobody knows anything,
Yeah.
because we're really, even the most adventurous, like sexually adventurous people will go through my program and go, oh my gosh, like I I didn't know any of this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so I always keep the beginners in mind. Like, I'm assuming you don't know anything.
Yeah.
And so from the very basic communication stuff, or basic, how do you how do you make a hot towel to treat your guy afterwards, to wipe him down, or whatever, like everything is built with beginners in mind.
Wonderful.
Yeah. And then your creativity starts kicking in after, like, once you feel relaxed in the bedroom, then your creativity starts kicking in, and you're like, oh, what if while I'm doing this with my hands, I did this with my tongue?
Yes. Yes.
So that ends up happening,
Yes.
and you can take it to a whole different level once you're there.
Now, for people who aren't partnered,
Mm-hmm.
is there, like, if people who have a penis, if they're not partnered, are they your class, I mean, the membership for sure, but are there videos that like, if I had a penis but I didn't have someone who was going to touch me, could I get any benefit out of watching your videos and learning technique that I could do on myself, or would I need a partner who would be able to take the class?
Yeah, that's a hard one to answer. I mean, there's two answers to that question. It's a brilliant question, because I get asked that all the time for men who are like, hey, this sounds amazing.
Yeah.
Can I get in on that for me? Uh, most of the techniques a man cannot physically do to himself.
Gotcha.
Like he, unless he has arms growing out of his kneecaps,
Uh-huh.
then he can't physically get to himself from those angles, which is great for the woman because she feels indispensable. Like
Yeah.
she holds the holy grail for him, which is great. But I mean, however, that said, I have had women report that, hey, so that my guy was out of town, and so we had a little Zoom date, and he was powdered sugaring himself
Yeah.
in front of me,
Yeah.
and he was doing onion ring to himself, the thing that he loves that I do. So there are a few things that you can do for yourself, yes, but it's mostly geared for women
Okay.
doing the technique on the guy, because they're so they just you can't do it on yourself. It's that good. Like,
Yeah.
it
Right.
feels, as a man experiencing it, it almost feels like the woman is an octopus.
Yeah.
Like, she's got so many hands doing so many things that he can't even really
Mm.
figure out what's happening. And you can't do that yourself. It's like
Yeah.
rubbing your own feet. Doesn't feel as good as when another person is doing it.
Right. No,
So
that totally makes sense. And it actually, I mean, going back to what we said at the beginning, that so much of the intention is also about creating a space where people with a penis have an opportunity to be the one who is being seduced, being receiving,
yeah,
getting to relax under the care of, and not have to be the one who is doing. So
yeah.
that makes total sense. And, for those people who want to learn technique to be able to do more on their own, then hit me up, because, that's my specialty,
'Cause
is
that's her,
masturbation
yeah.
coaching. Right.
There you
So
go. Yeah, 100%. I'm happy to pass along the guys to you. I have a guys course, but it's more on how to create a safe space for a woman to want
yeah.
to give you
Mm,
action. But it's got nothing to do with self pleasure
okay.
at all.
Yeah.
So yeah, guys, hit Erica up.
Okay.
But I've had a lot of men who actually bought my program and somehow finessed it so that, like, for he bought it for his partner
Hmm.
and said to her, hey,
Yeah.
like, there's this woman who has this course, and you're not all feeling all that confident in the bedroom, and she
Mm,
deals with confidence, and it's not really about you servicing me, it's just about you having a better time in the bedroom for
mm,
you while we are connecting,
yeah.
which is exactly what it's not really about servicing your guy at all, although he will benefit. But yeah, guys have bought courses for their lady because they see that there's something
Mm.
lacking.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
Yeah,
nice. I mean, that goes back to asking for what you need, right?
exactly. And if she just watches teeny little snippet or comes to one single coaching call, she'll
Mhm.
realize, oh yeah, this is just all about me. It's not really about the guy at all.
Mm.
This is my transformation here, and me feeling confident and comfortable and competent in the
Yes.
bedroom. It's not about the guy, but it ends up benefiting you both.
Mm.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Beautiful. All right. Well, I could talk to you for hours
Yes.
and hours and hours and hours, but hopefully, people will reach out, get see what the sugaring is. You've learned a little bit today, and mostly, the takeaway. What I'm taking away is, intention, vulnerability,
Yeah.
receptivity, fun. Being open, being okay with not already having confidence and competence with our hands, but not letting
Yeah.
that be a barrier to exploring touch. And I think the last thing around that is I do want to just say, many people, especially nowadays, have some neurodivergence and have touch sensitivity. So touch may not be the most comfortable way to interact, and that's
Right.
okay too.
Mm.
But that if we can relax the nervous system, whatever way is possible, then that creates the invitation for the penis to feel more welcomed, feel more relaxed, and see if it wants to join the party in whatever shape, manner, or form it shows up in. So
Yeah.
great.
Thank you for having these conversations,
Yeah.
Erica, because uh, uh, men over 50 or over 40, like 52% of men over 40 experience some kind of erection issues. And it's so not yet widely
I know.
accepted.
I know.
And so just having this conversation and letting men know it's okay. This is fine. There are alternatives. Like I think I'm so excited when I realize that a couple is having problems in the bedroom due to a soft penis situation.
Mm.
Because in my brain, I'm going, oh, this is good because you don't realize yet your
Yes.
sex life is about to get better because of that, because you're not relying on simply penetration to get the job done. Like
Exactly.
penetration is one flavor and there's a whole buffet of
Mhm.
flavors available
Yeah.
that are typically not even tried or not known about until there's a quote problem
Mhm.
in the bedroom. And so I get excited about these conversations because it opens up the door to let people know that, yeah, there is a whole buffet out here, and your sex life is about, and your connection and your relationship is about to get a whole lot better when you're able to just acknowledge that, okay,
Yeah.
there's a soft penis situation going on here and we got to think of something else.
Mhm.
Ooh, life is about to get good.
Oh, it gets so good. It's so good. So, such richness.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And yeah. Yeah. So that is really that is it. That is it. Okay.
That's the hokey pokey. That's
That
what
is
it's all about.
that is what it's all about. That there's so much that, I'm so grateful that we can be, part of for me taking on Soft Cock Appreciation Week is that there's a care team, that people can create a care team, that
Yeah.
we're bringing forward lots of different people from different backgrounds, different ways, who have done this work of walking over the bridge from the land of all that sex is penetration to, crossing the great river over the bridge to this whole other world
Yeah.
where so much more pleasure is available,
Mhm.
right? But
Yeah, there's
sometimes you
healthcare.
need a hand to get
Yeah.
across the bridge. And, there's lots of things beyond, pills, pumps, and injections. If that works for you, fabulous. But for those who don't, there's so much more. And the pleasure that I know I've seen in men who have been courageous. I think it's such an act of courage to say, just because my penis isn't the way it used to be, that isn't going to stop me from pursuing delicious, juicy, connective pleasure with a partner or with myself. And that's what we're really about.
Yes.
Yeah. Good. All right. Well, Lee, thank you so much. And we'll see you next year.
100%. You know I'm going to be here. Thank you for having me on, Erica.
You're welcome. You're welcome.